If you're over 65, you've probably heard the saying, a glass of red wine a day keeps the doctor away. But is it true? Or is it one of those health myths that sounds comforting, but doesn't quite hold up under scientific scrutiny? You might be someone who enjoys a small glass with dinner, or perhaps you've avoided alcohol altogether, wondering if you're missing out on some magical health benefits. Either way, by the end of this video, you'll know the real science behind red wine, aging, and heart health. And you'll also understand what truly contributes to a longer, healthier life. Because this story of red wine and longevity isn't just about what's in your glass. It's about how you live. Let me take you to a quiet park on a warm afternoon. Two men sit on a wooden bench under an old elm tree. Ahmed and Charles. Both are in their late 60s. Both retired, and both the type who enjoy long conversations about life, health, and the curious things they read. On this particular day, Ahmed had a question stuck in his mind. "You know what's odd?" he asked Charles. "The French eat all these fatty foods, cheese, butter, meat, yet they have lower rates of heart disease. How does that make sense?" Charles smiled knowingly. "Ah, yes," he said. "That's the French paradox." Back in the 1990s, scientists were fascinated by this strange phenomenon. Despite a diet rich in saturated fats in France, people had surprisingly low incidences of heart problems. Some researchers thought the secret lay in the one thing the French seemed to do consistently: drink red wine. Every evening, French men and women would sip Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, or Pinot Noir with their meals. And maybe, just maybe, that red wine was their secret weapon against heart disease. News outlets picked up the story. Wine sales skyrocketed. Doctors casually mentioned it in conversations. Suddenly, red wine was more than a drink. It was a health supplement. But Charles, being a thoughtful man, had always wondered, was it really the wine? Most people think of red wine as a way to unwind at the end of the day, or maybe something you sip during a nice dinner. But what if I told you that, when consumed the right way, red wine might actually support healthy aging? Now, we're not talking about chugging a bottle a day. The key word here is moderation. And it turns out red wine has a long-standing role in one of the healthiest diets in the world, the Mediterranean diet. This diet isn't just about one type of food or trendy superfoods. It's a whole way of living, built around fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, seafood, olive oil, and yes, red wine. People in the Mediterranean region enjoy wine regularly, but in small amounts, usually with meals and always as part of a balanced lifestyle. You might be wondering, what makes red wine so special? A big part of the answer lies in a powerful antioxidant called resveratrol. It's found in the skin of red grapes and, by extension, in red wine. Resveratrol has been shown in some studies to help protect the body's tissues, fight inflammation, and even slow down the aging process. That's where things start to get exciting. For example, in a 2020 study published in the medical journal Gut, researchers looked at elderly people who followed the Mediterranean diet closely, including a moderate amount of red wine. After just 12 months, these individuals showed improvements in gut health, brain function, and overall markers of longevity. That means their bodies were functioning more youthfully, all without any drastic lifestyle changes, just good food and balanced habits. And get this, at Harvard Medical School, scientists ran studies on mice using resveratrol. The mice that were given this compound became more agile, active, and energetic compared to the ones that didn't get it. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving. Of course, mice aren't people, but it opened the door to the idea that resveratrol might help us age more gracefully too. Now here's where the research gets a bit humorous. In some early studies, the amount of resveratrol used was equivalent to a human drinking over 100 bottles of red wine per day. Obviously, that's not going to happen and shouldn't. But later studies, like the one done at the University of Wisconsin, used much lower, more realistic doses. And they still saw promising results. That's why experts now generally suggest that one small glass of red wine per day for both men and women might be enough to gain some benefits without overdoing it. Now let's talk about something we've all probably heard at some point. A glass of red wine a day is good for the heart. It rolls off the tongue so easily, almost like it's common sense. And honestly, it sounds kind of comforting. A nice little treat at dinner that also happens to be good for your health? Who wouldn't be on board with that? But here's the thing, like most health claims that sound too good to be true, this one deserves a closer look. Because when we dig into the details, it turns out there's a lot more to the story. First off, let's talk about what that phrase actually means. A glass. Sounds simple, but is it? Not really. Over the years, wine glasses have gotten much bigger. Back in the day, a glass of wine meant about 5 ounces. But take a look at the glasses in restaurants or even the ones in your kitchen cupboard now. Many of them easily hold 8, 10, even 12 ounces. That makes it super easy to unintentionally pour way more than you mean to. What looks like one glass could actually be 2 or 3 servings without you even realizing it. Now add age into the equation. As we get older, especially after 65, our bodies start to process alcohol differently. It stays in the system longer because metabolism slows down. And that's not all. Many older adults are taking medications, some of which don't mix well with alcohol. Even small amounts can increase the risk of side effects. Plus, alcohol can affect balance, memory, liver health, and even sleep quality, all things that become more delicate with age. Because of these risks, recent research and guidance from big organizations, like the World Health Organization, has started to shift. You might have heard this new take: no amount of alcohol is completely risk-free. Now that doesn't mean you should panic if you enjoy the occasional glass of wine. A small pour now and then isn't necessarily harmful, but it does mean we need to stop thinking of alcohol, even red wine, as some kind of health supplement or magic elixir. So the big question is, should you drink red wine at all? Here's the most honest, balanced answer we can give. If you already enjoy a small glass of red wine with your meal and it brings you joy or helps you relax, that's totally fine. Just keep it moderate. We're talking about one small glass, maybe a few times a week, not something you depend on daily, and definitely not several glasses at a time. But if you don't currently drink, don't feel like you need to start just for your health. The research doesn't support that. The benefits you've heard about, like heart health or anti-aging effects, aren't strong enough to outweigh the potential risks, especially for people over 65. So if red wine isn't quite the magical fountain of youth we hoped it would be, then what is? What actually helps people live longer, healthier, more vibrant lives? Let's zoom out a bit and look at the big picture. One of the best ways to understand longevity is by studying the people who are already living it, those in the so-called blue zones. Maybe you've heard of them. These are places in the world where people routinely live into their 90s and even past 100, not just existing, but thriving, full of energy, sharp minds, and joyful spirits. These regions include Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Icaria in Greece, Nicoya in Costa Rica, and certain parts of France too. So what's their secret? Well, it's not just red wine, though some of them do enjoy it occasionally with meals. What really sets these folks apart are some beautifully simple habits. Let's break them down. First, daily movement. These people don't necessarily go to the gym, but they move their bodies all the time. They walk, they garden, they cook, they clean, they chase their grandkids around. It's gentle, natural movement, but it adds up, and it keeps their muscles, joints, and hearts strong. Next, they have deep social connections. This is a big one. Family, friends, neighbors, they all matter. They spend time together, share meals, talk face-to-face, and support one another. That kind of connection reduces stress, keeps the mind sharp, and even boosts the immune system. In fact, some researchers say that loneliness can be as harmful as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. That's how powerful connection is. They also live with a strong sense of purpose, something to wake up for. In Okinawa, they call it ikigai, your reason for being. It doesn't have to be grand. It could be taking care of a garden, teaching your grandchild something new, or volunteering in your community. That feeling of being needed, it does wonders for your health. Now let's talk food. Most of what people in the blue zones eat is whole and plant-based. Lots of veggies, fruits, legumes, nuts, and grains. They eat very little processed food, and their portions are modest. Meat is more of a side dish than a main course. And yes, some of them drink a little wine, but it's never excessive, and it's always with food and company. It's a cultural habit, not a coping mechanism. They also manage stress really well. And no, that doesn't mean they never feel stress. They just have better ways to deal with it. In Sardinia, it might be a glass of wine with friends. In Okinawa, maybe it's a quiet moment for reflection or prayer. In Ikaria, it's a midday nap. The point is, they regularly slow down, breathe, and reset, and their bodies thank them for it. And here's something that might sound simple, but is truly profound. They practice moderation in everything. They don't overeat, overdrink, overwork. They live life in balance. And that balance, physically, emotionally, socially, is a huge part of why they stay so healthy for so long. The best part, these aren't secrets locked away in distant corners of the world. These are things anyone can do. You don't need to move to Italy or speak Japanese to start living this way. You can begin right now, right where you are. Take a short walk after dinner. Call a friend just to chat. Eat more plants, fewer packages. Give yourself permission to rest. Find your purpose no matter how small it seems. Because real longevity isn't about chasing youth. It's about embracing life in a way that feels joyful, connected, and meaningful. And if that includes a glass of red wine now and then, that's just the cherry on top. As the sun began to dip behind the trees, casting a golden glow over the quiet park, Ahmed and Charles sat back on their bench, finishing the last sips of their tea. The day had passed slowly, gently, just the way they liked it. Ahmed turned to Charles, his brow slightly furrowed in thought. "You know," he said, swirling the last few drops in his cup, "so the wine helps, but only a little. It's really everything else that matters more, isn't it?" Charles smiled, a soft nod of agreement. "Exactly. It's the walking, the slow meals, the conversations like this one. That's what keeps the heart young." He paused for a moment, watching a young couple stroll by, their laughter drifting through the warm evening air. No rush, no pressure, just two old friends sharing a quiet moment. In their own simple way, without even trying, they were living like the people they'd spent the afternoon talking about, the French, the Sardinians, the Okinawans. Not chasing youth, not clinging to the past, just being present. And that really is the heart of it all. So as we wrap up, what's the real takeaway here? Red wine? It's not the villain some make it out to be, but it's not the miracle cure either. If you enjoy a glass now and then, and it's part of a life that brings you joy, go ahead, just keep it in moderation. Respect your body, especially as it ages. And if you don't drink at all, that's perfectly fine too. You're not missing anything essential. Because here's the truth. The real secret to aging well isn't in a bottle. It's in the life you build around you. It's in your habits, what you eat, how you move, how you rest. It's in the people you talk to, the laughter you share, the little things you look forward to each day. Red wine is alcohol, and especially as we age, too much alcohol can do more harm than good. It can interfere with medications, mess with your sleep, affect liver function, and contribute to other health issues. So, moderation is not just important, it's essential. One glass a day with food is the guideline. Any more than that, and you might be undoing the potential benefits. Longevity doesn't come from chasing after youth. It comes from leaning into life, fully, intentionally, joyfully. Thank you for joining us today, and if this message resonates with you, maybe pass it on to someone you care about. Share the bench, share the wisdom. And remember, living longer is good, but living well, that's even better.